Hello and welcome to the Watering Hole. Thanks for checking out this clip. Don't forget to like and subscribe because that'll make the baby Jesus cry, and I know how much you guys love making the baby Jesus cry. We're gonna end on some positive news today.
Okay.
Very rare thing here, because we talk about the Republicans doing stupid shit, and unfortunately they're very successful with a lot of their stupid shit. So positive news today. Anti-LGBTQ plus bills keep failing. Could the tide be turning?
Okay. I
So-
could get behind this.
Yeah, so as trans people continue to be targeted in state legislatures, they're finding mundane tasks like using public bathrooms and finding new doctors risky, according to a recent poll. So, for example, in Florida, DeSantis, come on, fuck off. Some trans folks say that they're peeing in bottles to avoid harassment that they face in public bathrooms.
What? Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it was like we're treating trans people like Amazon workers. Which is a bad thing, by the way. That was a joke about how badly Amazon treats their employers. So
Yeah. Falcon fans like the Democrats don't do stupid shit.
So we're starting off.
It's not that they don't, Falcon. It's that you're an idiot.
I remember Falcon. So now, starting with you, Cyrus, in Georgia, the battle over anti-LGBTQ plus legislation lasted until the final hours of this past legislative session. In the end, no such bills passed or even made it to a vote in the Georgia House, in spite of Republican majorities in both chambers. Was March 29th the day that you were at the Capitol?
Shit, was it? It might have. It was 2 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago?
Yeah,
I'll know if I look on my my YouTube channel.
Oh, no, March 29th was a Friday. You were there on a Wednesday.
Yeah, I was there on a Wednesday.
Because I remember accidentally canceling twit tweets because I thought that was you saying that, like, I'm not going to be available because I'm activisming. But
look, they were doing stupid shit, okay?
Yeah, but your actions made a difference is the point of this news article.
All I did was bitch out Bill Calzert.
Yeah. And being bitched out by a bunch of people who are like, hey, what the fuck are you doing? Made a difference. It made them think, hey, this is a powerful issue that people care about, and if I'm on the wrong side of it, I will lose my election. So, good job, Cyrus. You did a fucking activism, and you made a fucking difference.
I don't feel like mine was I mean, it was part of a bunch
You
of people.
You contributed. Don't minimize it, Cyrus.
Stuff.
Yes, and the bunch of people is what made the difference here. So I got a first-time chatter who's asking me to say hi. I don't normally say hi, but it's your first time chatting, so hi. Hi, Che Amigo. Frank, XD46. So yeah, Jeff Graham, executive director of Georgia Equality, waited in the state house past midnight on March 29th with around 30 other people, most of whom were trans or the parents of trans children. Graham told the 19th, which is this is coming from LGBTQ Nation. They seem to be a similarly focused news organization. That many had been there all day working intensely to meet with lawmakers. When it was all over, Graham said the exhaustion of the group was palpable. They had just fought the greatest number of anti-LGBTQ plus bills ever introduced in one session, and not a single one passed. Not a single one. In Georgia!
Yeah, they all kind of failed here.
Yeah. No, they're failing everywhere, Cyrus. Like, I'm not talking about New York. I'm not, like, Georgia, well, I don't know if they've mentioned Arkansas, but, like, it's Bible Belt places. They failed.
So I will say one thing that I think helped out a lot with the bill that I was there to protest. And this was not me. This was the general makeup of the lobbying group that I was with. A lot of the people who were lobbying were parents or grandparents of people who were trans, and they were there on behalf of their family members.
Yeah.
I think that probably spoke more to the politicians that were there at the Capitol. If you want to know which politicians said what, I did a Twitter thing where I was basically mumbling on Twitter about each conversation I was hearing and from who. But the like hearing a grandma bitch out an old senator because their grandchild is trans and they're advocating on behalf of the grandchild. Like I think that probably had way more weight than anything I did. It's very, very effective to be like, hey, I care about this because I am a parent and my child is like this. Especially for conservatives, where their platform has to be built on the children thing right now
Yeah.
because of their stances on abortion. Like they don't have a choice. They've bit that bullet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so mega politicians in Georgia tried it all in service to their anti-LGBTQ plus agenda, including silencing debate and gutting unrelated popular bills that had bipartisan support to ram through policies that would have put young LGBTQ plus Georgians in harm's way. They failed. So, yeah, I know you're minimizing your part in that, but you played a part in that. You were part of these Georgia politicians who saw people coming out repeatedly to bug them about it and be like, hey, we don't actually support this. And so, like, no one interaction is going to change their mind, but when they see so many of them, it has an impact. You can't walk past these people every day on your way to your job and ignore them the entire time. So, like, stop minimizing yourself, Saris. It happened in Florida, too. So Florida was also unable to avoid the momentum of the political shift. This session, 21 out of 22 anti-LGBTQ plus bills failed. And this is a marked improvement from last year when they enacted 6 anti-LGBTQ plus bills. And that's more than the 7 previous years combined, according to the Human Rights Commission or Council.
I would hope that it's not just HRC had people out there as well. It was HRC and Georgia Equality. Georgia Equality is who I went with, and HRC set people as well. But I'm hoping that it's not just that it's an election year. I'm hoping it's not just that it's an election year and that's why we're seeing some of those bills fail. I would hope that it's a legitimate zeitgeist shift.
Yeah.
But there is the fact that this is an election year, and that does have an effect on how senators push through bills.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I want to be as happy as anybody else is that a lot of these bills failed, but it's also 2024, and that is worrying enough to me.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it should be, but to my ill-informed mind, it is.
Okay. Even taking that into account, if they are just voting against these bills because they know it's an election year and they'll be more likely to be reelected if they vote against them, then that shows an awareness that the cultural zeitgeist has shifted. If we vote against these things, or like if we vote in favor of these bills, the public doesn't like it. And if I want to keep my job and keep my power and keep my easy money, because let's face it, being in the government in the States right now is an easy paycheck, and it's a big one.
You have all your benefits paid for. You have your vacations paid for.
Yeah,
your base salary is $25,000 a year, and you make a per diem of $230 a day.
You think Marjorie Taylor Greene puts in 40 hours of work every week? No. She fucking slacks off and just takes her paycheck. But like, so they know that their position of power is in jeopardy if they don't support LGBTQ rights. They are starting to realize that. So like, yes, it might be a callous, this is an election year, so if I vote against it, then I can tell my constituents that I voted against it, so they will be more likely to vote for me. But like, even if they're doing it in that cold, calculated manner, the fact that the population has shifted enough to make that something that they see as a favorable thing for them is a good thing. Even if they will go back to voting for these things for the next 3 years. Because, like, it's indicative of the larger shift.
Mm-hmm.
So
and
Kentucky.
I hope that that's the case going forward.
Yep. Kentucky, every single one of their anti-LGBTQ plus bills also failed this session. So Kentucky has not passed an anti-LGBTQ plus bill for nearly a decade. However, Texas and Florida flooded the news with transphobic attacks, and the rhetoric spread to other southern states, and Kentucky included. So Kentucky tried to pass more bills this year than they have in the last decade, but they failed. Every single one. In 2023, so it was last year, last season, the legislative seasons don't quite match up with the years, so this is not the season they're talking about, but the previous one. Kentucky did pass one of the most transphobic laws in the country. So in one bill, the state banned students of all ages from being taught about sexual orientation or gender identity, banned them from using washrooms that aligned with their gender identity, banned gender-affirming care for minors, and banned students up to the 5th grade from learning about sexuality and sexual development. So this is where my kind of hesitancy with this is coming, is like, are these bills failing because they already passed the big ones and the rest is just the small shit that's going to make people look bad anyway? Because if they passed all the big shit last year, then they don't need to worry about the small shit this year. But still, they didn't pass anything in the last legislative session that's anti-LGBTQ. So that's still a good thing in today's political climate.
It's a good thing. I still worry that it's not good for the right reasons.
Yeah. But it's clear that the anti-LGBTQ agenda is starting to fail both in Kentucky and across the country, and rightfully so, said Trey Grayson, former 2-term Republican Secretary of State of Kentucky. So, like, he's a Republican, and he is now also the lobbyist for Kentucky Competes, which is a coalition of LGBTQ supportive businesses. So, the fact that a Republican can be a lobbyist for such a company is like, yeah, that's shows the greater shift. It's like I've often said about religion, is that like they do progress eventually. It's like the Christian apologists today complain about progressive Christians, but if they go back in time 100, 200, 300 years, they will be condemned as being too progressive. Like, not with that language, but like, you would allow women to wear pants? How dare you? You would allow women to preach? How dare you? I mean, there's still some that don't allow women to preach and would prefer that they not wear pants.
That's for that last one's for very different reasons, though.
That's actually one that I've never really understood, because like, my understanding is like wearing a dress or a skirt is supposed to be for modesty, but like, you're wearing the thing that's open on the bottom that makes access for sexual fun a lot easier than pants. It's like, if you're worried about purity, would pants not? Yes, because pants are more form-fitting and they show off.
They leave less to the imagination.
There are pants that can still leave a lot to the imagination.
Yeah, parachute pants exist.
Log cabin Republicans exist.
Not in the same way they did 10 years ago. They've actually been ex-log cabin Republicans have been very vocal about the fact that their party, their organization got usurped by a bunch of very, very bigoted people. Weird, right?
Yeah. So anyway, Kentucky now joins other states across the South, including Florida, Georgia, and West Virginia, where nearly every single anti-LGBTQ measure introduced in the state houses was defeated. So that gives me hope. Even if it's for the wrong reasons, we can't expect Republicans to do things for the right reasons. But if they do the right thing for the wrong reasons, that's better than them doing the wrong thing.
It's better than nothing.
Yeah. So
it could be much worse.
It does give me hope.
No, that's fair.
Okay.
It's something.